Today I'm going to give away a free t-shirt, bring a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, reveal the books I bought this week, and, if I screw up, a blooper reel. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching the Comic Hero Show. Now kick that logo! Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. Coming to you for Clint's Comics right here in Monroe, Louisiana. And as of the end of last week's episode, folks, I'm only 23 away from 8,000 comics. And really excited about getting to this milestone. I don't know exactly how many books I'm going to buy this week, but it's coming. All right. Before we get to the books, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. All right, last week's episode, I asked, what is the name of the island where Wonder Woman grew up? Now, there are actually two answers to this question. And the answers are Paradise Island and Themyscira. Now, you're probably wondering, how are there two answers, Vic? Well, let me explain. When William Moulton Marston created Wonder Woman back in 1941, the name of the island that she came from was just simply called Paradise Island. Although in 1987, 30 years ago, when George Perez restarted the book and retold Wonder Woman's origin, he gave a more of a Greek name, which was Themyscira. And 11 people have answered correctly. And because they've answered correctly, their names have been entered in the drawing for a free tee. And the drawing takes place right now. So, the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is... Doug Ion from Monroe, Louisiana. So congratulations, Doug. You win yourself a free Comic Hero tee. All right, here's the question for next week's episode. And this is a very easy one. This is a very easy one. This is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles question. And once I give the hint to it, it's really going to be easy. Who first played the voice of Shredder on the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series? Now here's the hint. Here's the very easy hint. I'm expecting a lot of folks to get this right. No. He also is most famous for playing the role of Uncle Phil on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee in next week's episode of the show. All right, now D'Angelo Ballou from Warren, Ohio, and he comes up with some of the best Throwdown Showdown fights ever. And D'Angelo, I'm not saying that to be a brown noser. I'm saying that because that is the truth. Well, he's come up with yet another great fight request, and this one features two classic villains of the X-Men. And one of them is a founding member of the Brotherhood of Mutants, and the other one has very, very, very close ties to Professor X. Representing Marvel, we have the Juggernaut. And also representing Marvel, we have the Blob. These two are going to duke it out in a segment I like to call...
The Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown.
Welcome to the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Today, it's the Juggernaut versus the Blob. The Juggernaut possesses superhuman strength and durability, invulnerability via mystical force field, virtually unstoppable momentum, and immunity to melee attacks via his helmet. The Blob possesses superhuman strength, endurance, durability, and resilience, personal gravity field, and near impenetrable skin. Who would win? Any unstoppable forces and unmovable objects have nothing on these two. Until the end, this will be a challenge to see who'd hit the hardest. The Juggernaut would attempt to strike first by charging fist first towards the Blob. Instead of hurting it with a strike to the midsection, the Juggernaut's fist gets stuck in the Blob's gut. The Blob would then wind up his right arm and deliver a punch to the Juggernaut, but the latter is completely unharmed. After minutes of going back and forth, the Juggernaut decides to end the fight the dirtiest way possible. He asks the Blob, "Hey, what's the capital of Thailand?" The Blob has no clue. The Juggernaut suddenly kicks the Blob below the belt. However, the latter is unharmed. The reason? The Blob's skin isn't the only thing that's impenetrable. The same goes for every other part of his body. The Blob then smiles at the Juggernaut and kicks him below the belt, causing him to be in an infinite amount of pain. For good measure, the Blob rips off the Juggernaut's helmet and knocks him out cold with it. The Blob walks away saying, "I may not be that smart, but at least I know that the capital of Thailand is Bangkok." The Blob wins, and that concludes this fight on the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown.
Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed that fight, and if you have a fight request for future episodes, contact info is down there. Alright then, let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
First up is X-Men Gold number 4. Now, this book features some of the older X-Men like Kitty Pryde, Old Man Logan, Storm, just to name a few. And it's a pretty good book. And I think from what I'm looking at in the cover is that Gambit it could possibly be joining the fold. All right, next up is Batman number 24. Now, I just read this very interesting standalone story out of number 23. It was called The Brave and the Mold. And it featured this old man singing a song called Wild Irish Rose. And then next thing you know, he ends up being murdered. We later find out that it was actually the Swamp Thing's biological father who was murdered. And so he enlists the help of Batman to help him track down the person who killed him, which they did in a museum, an art museum at that. And then next thing you know, Swamp Thing ends up killing him. And while he's killing him, he's singing the same song that his father sung at the very beginning of the issue. And then Batman, he doesn't tolerate killing at all. He ended up getting on Swamp Thing's case about it. And the next thing you know, he withers away. Yeah. All right, next up is Superman number 24. This is a part of a story arc called Black Dawn, where a lot of things have come to light. For starters, it all starts out with Batman being kidnapped, and then Superboy and Superman try to find him, and then all of a sudden, Superboy is hypnotized by, of all people, Kathy Cobb, this girl that he befriended earlier on in his book. And then Batman gets kidnapped. Well, both Batman and Robin get kidnapped. And then next thing you know, we find out all of Hamilton County knows the truth about Superman, Lois, and Jonathan. And a lot of odd things happen. One of them resulted in Lois Lane getting her leg cut off. And then we find out who the true mastermind behind all this was, and that's a classic Superman villain who made his debut about 16 years ago, Manchester Black. All right, next up is Guardians of the Galaxy number 3. This book, Jerry Duggan is pretty much picked up where Brian Michael Bendis has left off. The only difference is they finally return to space where they truly belong. And in the first issue, they arrive on this planet, but in a Trojan horse version of Galactus, nonetheless. It fooled them at first, and it's just crazy stuff. It's just crazy stuff all over and over and over. It's a great book, though. I can't wait to read this issue. All right, next up is The Amazing Spider-Man number 28. Now, I've yet to get started reading it. The last time I read this book was during the Clone Conspiracy, Dead No More, the Clone Conspiracy. But hopefully I get a chance to start back reading it because Dan Slott, continues to deliver in every issue, and he has for almost a decade. All right, next up is Green Lanterns number 24. Now, in this issue, Simon and Jessica return to Mogo for some more training, and of course, Hal and company are going to be doing most of the training, and then most of all, Kilowog. And then finally, Aquaman number 24. Now, Aquaman has lost the throne of Atlantis, and he's trying to fight tooth and nail to get it back, and it's not coming easy. All right, that's 7 I bought, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 7,984. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Here's the question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. Who first played the voice of Shredder on the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series? Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee in next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Doug Guyon from right here in Monroe, who won a free tee in this week's episode. All right, it's birthday time here on the Comic Hero Show, and happy birthday this past Monday to one of my friends from high school, John Hollinshead. Happy birthday on Monday to one of my friends that I was in band with at both Homer High School and at Louisiana Tech, Michael Carpenter. Happy birthday to one of my friends that I was in band with in the Sound of Today at ULM, Stephen Taylor. And happy birthday to one of the greatest drummers of all time that I have had the privilege to work with, Corterio Spunky Amos. And happy birthday tomorrow to my good friend from that I grew up with in Homer, Louisiana, and went to school with, Bonnie Ferguson. Happy birthday to one of my friends that I was in band with in the Sound Today at ULM, Avery Dace. Happy birthday to one of my friends from Homer, Louisiana, Vernester Gray. And happy birthday on Friday to my friend that I was in band with at Tech many years ago, Jason Noto. And happy birthday to one of my friends that I went to school with for about 12 years in Homer, Michelle Howard. All right, happy birthday this Saturday to the band director at Parkway High School, Mark Minton. Happy birthday to my music theory and oral skills and applied piano teacher, Gulia Chandler. And then happy birthday to one of my classmates from the mighty class of 2000 at Homer High School, Brian Petey Coleman. And then happy birthday this Sunday to my cousin from Houston, Texas, Ryan Mays. And happy birthday this Sunday to the guitar teacher at ULM, Dan Sumner. All right, I'm 16 away from 8,000, folks. 16. Now, I can't really guarantee that I'll get to the milestone in next week's episode, because 16 is a lot of books. It might not seem like it, but it is. That is a lot of books. And I'm just inching away, and I'll get more and more excited every time I do this episode. Every time I do episodes of the show, rather. All right, I'm Victor Nunley. I'm the Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 170. Right back here at Clint's Comics. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.